but I found it to be the most beautiful.
It is amazing.
This is an amazing space, and amazing maybe architecturally wonderful, but amazing for what it represents. It represents the U.S., and if properly used, a lot of good things can happen.
You have to understand that Donald Trump hasn't really had the opportunity to do an NTV Cribs bit in a long time. He used to do this all the time with his real estate properties, right? Back in the reality TV show days, like, oh, here's the penthouse. Look, it's got a gold toilet, you know? He's just trying to make the place feel like home.
I see Ronald Reagan over there.
Yeah, Ronald Reagan.
Right to your left.
Being in the Oval Office is very important. See Ronald Reagan here, and put him a little bit larger. Sort of seemed to fit very nicely. You have Democrats a little bit. You have
Franklin Roosevelt.
Franklin Roosevelt. So you look at that picture and people say, well, what's he doing up there? But look, he was a serious president, whether we like it or not. He was a four-termer. And
it's funny that the thing that Trump idolized about FDR is the fact that he stayed in office for 4 terms. Also, worth noting, when you do social democracy correctly, even the fascists have to respect you because everyone understands that you're a bedrock of the country. That's true. No one, history will always shit on the banal, dickless neoliberal. You know, people will turn on you in an instant. But if you build something that lasts, like social security, even the people later who hate you have to at least pretend to respect you. So yeah, same with MLK Jr., right? If you really win, and again, like arguments as to like to what extent the Civil Rights Act meaningfully fixed racism, right? But like, you know, if you really cement your legacy, even people who hate you have to pretend they like you.
You know, went through a war. You have Lincoln, you have Washington, but you look over here, that's Monroe, the Monroe Doctrine.
Why is he up there?
I think the Monroe Doctrine was pretty important. You know, that was his claim to fame. Over here you have the original of Abraham Lincoln and George Washington, and of course you have the Declaration of Independence.
What does it mean to you?
Well, it means exactly what it says. It's a declaration. It's a declaration of unity and love and respect, and it means a lot, and it's something very special to our country.
Lincoln's portrait up there. I'm not familiar with that one, but I think when I'm looking at that famous line in the second inaugural, with malice poured none, with charity toward all.
Well, he was a great president. He went through a lot.
And the Oval Office is always changing between presidents. And
it changes,
says something.
It does.
What does this say about how you feel about the country and the office?
Well, I think it says I love the country. I mean, I'm putting pictures of presidents up that have never been up, pictures that weren't largely used, and in many cases, you know, great men, in this case men, but great men of great achievement.
And your every detail, it seems.
No.
This is your office.
I'm a very detailed person. I'm a very clean person. I like cleanliness. I like to see
that is true. He's a clean
space
freak.
be treated properly. I've added a lot to the space in terms of beautification.
He has made the Oval Office look like absolute dog shit. Every frame now has this awful, gaudy, like fake gold, or like, well, it's the Oval Office. It's probably real gold. It's probably gold leaf. But he's added like gold bullshit to everything.
In terms of modernization, that's
a gallery of presidents.
It really is. It really is. So, and it's an honor to have you people with us.
Mr. President, thank you for doing this.
Thank you very much.
Here in the Oval Office, it's special. 100 days into your second term. So, what's the one thing, just one thing, that you think is the most significant thing you've done so far in these 100 days?
Well, I think maybe the border is the most significant because our country was really going bad. They were allowing people to come in from prisons, as you know, and you've heard me say it, but you've heard a lot of people say it. Prisons, mental institutions, gang members, murderers. We had many murderers.
Hannibal Lecter, right?
11,888, they think. Some murdered more than one person. So you had murderers coming in, you had everybody coming in, and not just South America, from all over the world. They were emptying their prisons into...
Why is every fascist dictator a clean freak? I think there might actually be a legitimate psychological relationship between those things, like a desire for control in a chaotic world. I'm not really sure. That's a good question, but I feel like there actually are some historical parallels there. I don't really know. But he's been a clean freak for a long time. That's like a known thing about him. It's one of the weirdly human attributes to him, along with the fact that he does not drink because of what happened to his brother. Yeah, look, I understand. You've all seen a lot of Trump interviews before, but we're looking at a very distinct character to this one. It's going to take a little while, I assume. I've seen some clips from it, and Jesus Christ. I said early on in this presidency that one of the things that gave me hope about the future is the fact that the world is very complicated these days, and you can't break it the way it used to be possible to break it, you know? The reason North Korea was able to be turned into North Korea was because when that change happened, they didn't have a modern globalized economy. The reason Nazi Germany was able to rapidly industrialize, develop an enormous military force within their own country off of their own, mostly their own, labor and production, a consequence of a pre-globalized economy. But the world is different these days. Everything is much more complicated, you know? Like literally, the economy used to be, and this isn't really an exaggeration, right? Like, how much gold did the lords have in the castle at the center of their fiefdom? And did everyone have enough grain in the grain silos? And were the spices coming in? And like, were you tariffing the spices enough to get more gold from other empires so that your pile of gold was bigger than their pile of gold? You understand? It used to be a lot simpler. Nowadays, it's so damn complicated. I don't think it's possible to do what they're doing without breaking things. And now the things are getting broken. And as a consequence of that, they're going to start falling apart very rapidly. If you've taken a look at any economic headlines within the past few days, you've seen it. Port traffic drying up. Tariffs hit hard. Ships leaving China empty. Empty store shelves predicted within weeks. Everything's ramping up very quickly. Just today, Q1 report dropped. The economy has shrunk. It went down, I think 0.3% GDP growth. Negative 0.3%, I should say. So you either ignore reality or you acknowledge it and double back. You double back or double down. I think they're doubling down. I think that things are going to get much louder, much crazier, very, very, very quickly. We're going to take a look at the presidential cabinet meeting later, because it's also just as insane. Every member of Trump's cabinet has a MAGA hat laid out in front of them. Pam Bondi congratulates Trump on saving over 200 million American lives over the first 100 days. Things are going to get a lot crazier. And unfortunately, the average Republican viewer of their cabinet meetings, their Oval Office blurbs, their talks, whatever, completely insulated. Right now, a lot of the population has no idea what's happening or what's going to come
to our country. And now it's totally closed down. And you've seen just yesterday, they announced 99.9%. Nobody thought that could happen. And it happened quickly, very quickly. And I think that's very significant. But we're doing other things that are very significant. Results.
Oh, there's one other thing I want to say, too, because I think it's important to view this in its appropriate context. Biden and Trump are very similar in that neither of them have much power as presidents. And the reason for this is because they're old. Being a president is very difficult. The amount of work you have to do to keep everyone in line and to keep track of everyone's priorities, to act in ways that reward the people who need to be rewarded and punish the people who need to be punished, it takes a lot of mental acuity. There's a reason why presidents age so quickly when they're in office. But Biden and Trump are both too mentally feeble, or were too mentally feeble, to do this job properly. Biden, I think, because he's genuinely too old. For Trump, it's a mixture of him being old and him being so stupid, he doesn't actually understand what the responsibilities of the office are. It's basically known that for Trump's first presidential term, he was a lame duck president. He wasn't actually the one making decisions. He had a team of Republican operatives near him in the White House, in the cabinet, in Congress and Senate, who would do their best to interpret what he said and do the right version of it. If he had a stupid idea, they would tamp down on it. If he was insistent on a stupid idea, they would ignore him. They would ignore him until he forgot about it, and then they would just do what they wanted to do anyway. Trump effectively wasn't president in his first term. This time, in his second term, I still think he's not really president. The difference is that rather than a group of evil but somewhat competent Republican operatives doing their best to kind of keep things afloat in spite of him, now it's a group of extremely evil and not competent Republican operatives. That's the meaningful difference. Do you understand? I don't think Trump has any real power. I think the relationship between him and his cabinet is akin to a very, very wealthy great-grandpa who has a bunch of great-grandchildren sucking up to him so they make sure they're on the will when he dies. I think that's it. They know he is the fulcrum of popularity. He is the thing that drives like voter engagement. He is the reason they're all there, so they all have to do their best to suck up to him. And God, have they been sucking up to him.